Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a mission so bold, so audacious, it feels like it was ripped straight from a Hollywood script. We are going to break down the secret intelligence, the incredible planning, and the sheer nerve behind Operation Thunderbolt.
So let's just start with the central problem, because it's a huge one. It's 1976, and this is the question facing Israel. It seems completely impossible, right? Well, the answer would involve a stunning combination of intelligence, logistics, and just breathtaking courage.
Everything kicked off on June 27, 1976. What was supposed to be a totally routine Air France flight from Tel Aviv to Paris very quickly spiraled into a terrifying international crisis.
So a team of 4 terrorists gets on board and seizes control of the plane. And here's the kicker. They didn't just land in some random place. They flew straight to Uganda, where the country's dictator, the infamous Idi Amin, basically welcomed them with open arms and even gave them military backup. And you just have to appreciate the distance here. 4,000 kilometers. That is a massive obstacle. We're talking way beyond the normal flight range for most of Israel's aircraft. Any kind of rescue mission would be a logistical nightmare. Flying low and secret over hostile countries, just pushing everything and everyone to the absolute limit.
So let's be really clear about this. This was not just a hijacking. It was basically a state-sponsored trap. You have Idi Amin's own soldiers standing guard right alongside the terrorists. And then they did something truly chilling. They separated the Israeli and Jewish passengers from the others, setting a deadline for their demands.
Okay, so diplomacy is failing. The clock is ticking down to that deadline. Israel's only real hope was to find a crack in the armor, some kind of weakness. And their success would come down to getting critical intelligence, which, believe it or not, came from a couple of very unlikely places. On June 30th, the hijackers made a huge miscalculation. They decided to release all the non-Israeli hostages. They probably thought this showed strength, that it would pressure Israel even more. But what they actually did was hand the Israelis the very key they needed to unlock the whole situation.
And this is where the real spycraft kicks in. Mossad agents were waiting in Paris, and they immediately started debriefing every single one of the freed passengers. They carefully pieced together all these fragments of memory to build a precise, detailed picture. They knew the number of hijackers, what guns they had, their routines, even where they were standing in the terminal.
So, just as this vital intelligence is pouring in from the hostages, something else happened back in Israel. It was a discovery that you just couldn't make up, an almost unbelievable stroke of luck.
And boom, there it is, the game changer. It turns out an Israeli company had built that very terminal years ago, and they still had the original blueprints. So now think about it. They had first-hand accounts from the hostages and the building's exact architectural plans. They had everything they needed to build a full-scale replica to practice on.
All right, with this incredible intelligence in hand, the military planners got to work. Now, not every idea was a winner. I mean, they considered things like a naval assault across Lake Victoria, but it was just too slow, too impractical. They needed something faster, something bolder. The genius of the plan they landed on wasn't about brute force. It was all about deception, a masterstroke, really. They knew Idi Amin often showed up at the airport in a big black Mercedes. So the plan was simple and crazy. Let's get a black Mercedes, make it look just like his motorcade, and drive right off the rescue plane and up to the terminal like we own the place. A Trojan horse.
This whole thing was like a perfectly choreographed, high-stakes airborne ballet. You've got 4 C-130 transport planes. The first one, that's the lead assault team with the Trojan horse Mercedes. The others had absolutely critical jobs too. One for backup, another to destroy Uganda's fighter jets on the ground so they couldn't give chase, and a 4th plane to serve as a flying hospital and get everyone home.
On the night of July 3rd, with the deadline just hours away, the mission got the green light. It was a go. 4 planes took off, flying thousands of kilometers in total radio silence, hugging the ground to stay off enemy radar. The tension must have been unbelievable.
The operation was codenamed Thunderbolt for a reason: speed. The entire time they were on the ground, from the moment the first wheels touched the runway to the last plane taking off, was just 53 minutes, less than an hour. The speed was just mind-blowing.
But, this is where reality always throws you a curveball. Even the best plan can hit a snag. The intelligence about the black Mercedes was perfect, except for one tiny detail they couldn't have known. Idi Amin had just bought himself a new white one. So when the Ugandan guards saw the black Mercedes, they knew something was wrong, and they opened fire, shattering the element of surprise. But the Commandos didn't even hesitate. They bailed from the cars and sprinted for the terminal. As they burst in, they started shouting in both Hebrew and English for the hostages to hit the floor. Their training was so specific, they wanted to protect the hostages while immediately engaging the 7 hijackers inside. As those planes flew home through the night, carrying both the rescued and the fallen, the world woke up to the absolutely astonishing news of the raid. It was seen as a miracle of planning, of execution, but that miracle came at a very real price. The main goal, of course, was an incredible success. Out of 105 hostages being held in that terminal, 102 were rescued and flown home to their families.
But that victory was bittersweet. The mission's commander, Yonatan Netanyahu, who was the older brother of a future Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, was the only Israeli soldier killed. 3 hostages tragically died in the crossfire, and a fourth, an elderly woman named Dora Bloch, who'd been taken to a hospital earlier, was later murdered in her bed on the direct orders of Idi Amin.
In his honor, the operation's code name was officially changed. It wasn't Operation Thunderbolt anymore, it became Mivtza Yonatan, Operation Yonatan, forever tying the memory of this incredible victory to his ultimate sacrifice.
To this day, Operation Thunderbolt is the benchmark for Special Forces missions. It's a masterclass in how meticulous intelligence, brilliant tactical planning, and raw courage can turn a totally hopeless situation into a legendary victory. And it leaves us with a fascinating question. Where is that line between a calculated risk and an impossible gamble?